ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ്. മാറ്റിനി വെബിനാറിലേക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും സ്വാഗതം. ഇന്ന് വളരെ വിശേഷപ്പെട്ട ഒരു വിഷയം, കൂടുതലൊന്നും നമ്മൾ കേൾക്കാത്ത ന്യൂക്ലിയർ പവർ സെക്ടറിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് കണ്ണൻ സാർ നമ്മളോട് സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്. സാറ് നേവിയിൽ വൈസ് അഡ്മിറൽ ആയിരുന്നു, റിട്ടയർ ചെയ്തു. അതിനുശേഷം ഒത്തിരി കമ്പനികളിൽ എക്സിക്യൂട്ടീവായിട്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതല്ലാതെ തന്നെ നല്ലൊരു മോട്ടിവേറ്റിംഗ് സ്പീക്കർ എന്ന് ഞാൻ പറയുന്നില്ല, ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ സ്പീക്കറാണ്. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു വളരെയധികം ടോക്കുകൾ, ഏകദേശം 13-ലധികം ടോക്കുകൾ നമുക്ക് തന്നെ സാറ് എല്ലാ മാസങ്ങളിലും ഒന്ന് വീതം തരാറുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരെയും വേദിയിലേക്ക് ക്ഷണിക്കുകയാണ്. അതോടൊപ്പം നിങ്ങളുടെ പെർമിഷനോടുകൂടി വൈസ് അഡ്മിറൽ കണ്ണൻ സാറിനെയും ഞാൻ ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു. കണ്ണൻ സാർ, യു ആർ വെൽക്കം.
Thank you, Sabu. Once again, you've given me an opportunity to speak to you this month. And today I'm going to talk on a topic which is not been discussed much in public media. I have a presentation to make. As usual, my presentation is in 3-4 parts, so that if anybody wants to see it later, they can see it in installments. They will see part 1 and then they may take some time off and then come and see part 2, like that. So with that, I will upload my presentation. Are you able to see my presentation now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to discuss today India's nuclear power sector. That means how energy is produced, how electrical energy is produced from nuclear reactors. We are going to discuss that. What is happening in India? Of course, I have told you it is slow, but safe and steady. So we will elaborate on this as we go along. As usual, I give a initial slide, which is a introduction to the topic. So let me say, atomic research in the first half of the last century, at the 20th century, revealed that nuclear fission as well as nuclear fusion, both these processes can be conducted for peaceful purposes to meet our growing demands for energy. Because all along we have been associating, when we hear nuclear and we hear of nuclear bomb, which was dropped at the end of the Second World War or just before the end of the Second World War. But nuclear energy can also be used for peaceful purposes, as it was proved thereafter. So fission reactors became very popular in the last 65 years. I'm just taking something like from 1955, 57 onwards, it became very, very popular. And today, there are 430 fission reactors operating in 30 countries, including India, to provide 1/10 of the world's energy needs in a clean form. Please remember, there is no carbon emission or very limited carbon emission when you have a nuclear power plant. Unlike a coal thermal plant, which releases a lot of carbon. And today our major worry is carbon dioxide emission. So fission reactors are associated with clean energy, and 10% is coming from fission reactors. Fusion process, which is the other way of getting nuclear energy, continues to be in the lab. It has not come out of the lab into commercial viability sector. It remains as a process which has been verified in the lab. It has gone into prototype reactors, and there's a lot of efforts going on by USA and many France and many other countries joined together as an international collaboration to become, to generate one, to design, manufacture and operate a fusion reactor. But that has not happened. Some successes have taken place. I will talk about a little later. But today, we have only fission reactors operating in the world. Everywhere in the world, it's only fission reactors which are taking place. But one important thing which you should remember, fission reactors require fissile material as fuel. And the most popular is natural uranium. That is uranium as available as an ore in the Earth's crust. So fission reactors require uranium, and India has very, very limited resource of uranium. So just remember this. Reactors require uranium, and India has got very poor stock. Naturally, we have very poor stock of uranium in our country. India's nuclear power sector, if you see the starting, was a 1 megawatt indigenous research reactor. And subsequently, it grew from 1 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 540. We reached up to 540 megawatt reactor made in the country, indigenously designed. And some places we are taking foreign help. But recently, we have gone up to 1,000 megawatts. 1,000 megawatts is 1 gigawatt. There are some electrical engineers here, they will understand better. 1,000 megawatts is 1 gigawatt. And with some foreign assistance, we have been able to set up reactors up to 1 gigawatt per reactor. India has also designed and manufactured a reactor for an Indian-built nuclear submarine. So in a nuclear submarine, the reactor drives the ship, in this case submarine, drives the submarine underwater. And that requires fuel as well, uranium. It requires uranium. But there they use enriched uranium. Enriched uranium is more potent, more powerful. It can give more energy. And its life will get longer because it has got higher energy content. So we have also achieved this in early 2000. So we have made a lot of progress on the nuclear power sector, not only for land-based reactors, but also sea-based reactor, which are installed on board Indian naval submarines. With international focus on clean and green energy now to counter global warming, every country feels that they should have nuclear power available. And towards this, to enable every country, big and small, to have reactors available for them, the present technological solution is go for small modular nuclear power plant. It appears to be a viable option, as it was discussed during recent G20 meeting at Delhi in September 23. But the fact that India does not have enough uranium to last long, we are attempting something else, some other scientific process to recycle used uranium. Spent uranium, we want to recycle by some radioactive process using some minerals which India has got in plenty. I'll talk about that as well. So at the end of the introduction, I'm telling you that India has already started its trajectory. We have up to 1,000 megawatts reactor size. We started with 1 megawatt 50 years back. And we also got a nuclear submarine which has got our own reactor. And now we are wanting to go ahead, but a problem is there of availability of uranium. So I want to just clear a little bit of physics between fusion and fission. Please allow me to just go through 2 slides. It's a little bit of school physics. You must have learned during your school many years back, but let me go through it once. So in fission, there's an uranium atom. As you remember, uranium has got many neutrons and protons, etc., etc. So a heavy atom. So if you can hit this atom, collide this with a neutron, another high power neutron, if it can come and hit it, it'll break into 2 parts. And when it breaks into 2 parts, these parts may not be equal. One can be big, one can be small. Some energy is released. That is the principle of fission. You divide this uranium into 2 parts. So heavy material is taken, split into 2 parts. Lot of energy is released in the form of heat, in the form of radioactivity. And when it breaks into 2 parts, some free neutrons also get released. They will hit some more atoms. Like that becomes a chain reaction, and you will get a lot of energy released. This energy which is released, if you can absorb in some medium and then slowly release that for conversion to electrical energy, then you get electrical energy. Because when this reaction takes place, you have to absorb that energy, moderate it, and convert it to electrical energy. This is the basic of fission. Now, in case of fusion, it is different. 2 light atoms, light atom 2, light atom 1. Fission was heavy atom, uranium. Here it is light atom. Normally you use, let's say, hydrogen, and you try to combine these 2 together. So what you do is you take, you take 2 light atoms and make them collide each other under high pressure and high temperature, and you will create a new atom. And some neutrons are released and some energy is released. This energy, if it can be consumed, contained and moderated and released, you'll get electrical energy. But if the energy released is more than the energy you are consumed for putting high pressure and high temperature. High pressure means you have to run some equipment to make it pressurized. High temperature means you have to heat up the container in which this is happening. So you're consuming some energy, and if the output of this fusion is less than that, then fusion cannot sustain. You're not getting more than what you're consuming. This is a problem in fusion technology. Scientists have not fully overcome this. To get a fusion reactor of a fairly high rating, you should make a fusion reactor of 500 megawatts or 1000 megawatts, something like that. But that has still not happened. So fusion process and its industrial conversion, etc., is still in the process of making. So we don't have any fusion reactors in the world at the moment. They're all in the experimental stage. It is expected the first one will come in USA, California. France is also doing it with some international cooperation. About 25 countries joined together. India is a part of it. So it will take another 10, 12 years before this fusion reactor comes. So for the immediate future, only fission reactors. And now onwards, we'll talk only about fission reactors. So the only example we have for fusion today, tomorrow, and for next 12, 15 years is the sun. Sun gives you energy throughout because of fusion taking place inside the sun. Light gas atoms get collided and they release a lot of energy. That is how you get sun's energy. So just remember this. Fusion is under experiment. Today, the only example where fusion is taking place in the whole universe is only the sun, which I'm sure you have learned in the school. So I'll go forward. So in a fission reactor, back to a fission reactor, what is there? This is a reactor. I'll just go through some elementary thing. Can you see this gray one? This is a concrete walled building, thick concrete walled building, so that if something happens inside, the explosion doesn't come outside. So it is a house in a thick concrete. The elliptical shape one is the pressure vessel, which can stand temperature and pressure. Fuel is uranium. You can see the red and yellow fuel elements. And there are controlled rods, which if they are inserted, the chain reaction slows down. If you take out the control rods, the chain reaction picks up again intensity, because the control rods have got some material which will absorb the neutrons, which are actually triggering chain reaction. The input water comes through a pump, gets heated up and goes out as steam. So the input water is normally normal water, H2O, but there are many reactors which use heavy water, which is called D2O, deuterium. So we will not bother to find out what's the difference between normal water and heavy water, but heavy water is a better moderator. It can slow down and the energy absorb it and make it a far more controlled transfer from water to steam. So steam comes out, steam will run a turbine, and you will get electricity, which you can give to Kerala State Electricity Board. Of course. Sorry? Can I have these questions at the end of the talk?
Okay, sir, you can continue.
Yeah. So the steam is running a turbine and it generates electricity. That is how electricity is produced. All reactors are, this is the basic. There'll be a little more added things as we talk about different reactors, that's not our interest today. Look at what is reactor physics. But this is the fundamental. Water, uranium emits a lot of neutrons, they collide and chain reaction takes place and steam comes out. From 1954, when the first fission reactor came, many types of reactors have been designed. Some have been made vertical, some are made horizontal, some have got normal water, some have got heavy water, some are pressurized reactors, some are not pressurized reactors. Like that, different types of reactors have been designed and they are put to use in the world today. So the types of reactors are in 65 years. As I told you, there are 436 reactors in the world. There are 30 countries having reactors, including India. Most of them are water cooled, mostly normal water called light water. Some are with heavy water. 70% of reactors out of this 436 are pressurized. Why is it pressurized? So that water doesn't boil at 100 degrees centigrade. Water will boil much higher temperature, because then it is a better control of the energy which is coming out from the chain reaction. Normally, reactors have two-stage cooling. From there, it'll go to steam and then it'll come down to lower temperature of steam. Non-pressurized boiling water reactors account for 15%. Pressurized water account for 11%. Then balance belongs to some molten salt, sodium, gases as moderators, etc. So there are different type of reactors. What you need to know, mostly it is fresh water, which is called ordinary water. Some of them use heavy water. That's all you need to remember. And all of them require fissionable material as fuel. And the most common is natural uranium. Now, natural uranium contains two types of uranium. You should know this just for information. There is something called U uranium, U238, it's a number for it. And the other one is U235. U238 is 99.2%. The balance is U235. So if you can and increase the percentage of U-235 by some technique, which is called enrichment, then you will be able to get a better fuel, a fuel which has got more potency, more power. So normally reactors use enriched uranium. I will tell you where in India we are using it. Up to 5% enrichment. That means you enrich it to 5%, 95% will be U-238 is used for reactors. But if you want to make a bomb, then you have to enrich to 20%. That is a very complicated facility by which ordinary uranium is converted to enriched uranium, for which you require a different type of enrichment facility. We are not going to discuss that in this because we don't have that sort of facility, to my knowledge, in the country. So we will discuss only about what is used in power sector. So what are the global trends? Very important. Just see this. The top 10 countries which use nuclear power in the world, topmost is USA. It has got 93 reactors generating 95.5 gigawatt, more than 1 gigawatt per reactor. You may recall 1 gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts. France is next, China, Russia, Japan, India 7. India has 23 reactors which produce 6.9 gigawatts. This slide which has been made, there's a correction to it. India had 23, but it has come down to 22. One reactor has come down. I will talk about it a little later, but just remember, India has got only 22 reactors, land-based reactors now. It had 23 earlier. The important point which you should remember, USA average of one reactor is 1 gigawatt. In India, the average is 0.3 gigawatts. We are operating with reactors which have got very low power. That is why our total is only 6.9 gigawatts. We are not anywhere close to the high average the other countries are having, more than us, which the list is already there. You can have a look at it. But remember, India's average power is only 0.3 gigawatts at this point of time. Right. Now, how much nuclear power are we using in India compared to what is coming from solar, what is coming from wind, what is coming from thermal power plant, what is coming from bio, what is coming from natural gas plant? All this put together, India is using only 3.3% of power from nuclear power plant. France uses 70% of France power is from nuclear power plants. 70%. Then comes Ukraine, and you know many things happened in Ukraine during the war. Some of the power plants had to be shut down. So this 51 point must have come down now. Then comes Korea, Russia, USA. USA is only just about 20%. But we are far lower than all these countries. We are using only 3.3% as power from nuclear power plant. And that also, we have been able to restore it. You look at this graph. We were around 3.7 in 2001. Then after that, we came down to very low values of 2%. And after 2008, it started going up, and now there are 3.2. Why did this happen? Because after we did Pokhran 2 nuclear blast, international group called NSG, Nuclear Supply Group, they stopped giving us uranium. Now you understand, if we don't get uranium from abroad, our nuclear power plants will have to shut down or will have to reduce their output. You see this graph. From 2002 onwards till 2011, we were under the ban And the ban, which was lifted in 2008, by the time we started getting uranium, it was 2010. All those years, our nuclear share has come down to very low levels. Now it has come back to 3.27, which is also low. France is at 70. So many other countries are about 20, and we are at 3.3. That means we are still depending on coal, natural gas. We are depending upon solar, wind. Solar, wind are renewable energy, good, but coal is the major one. So our nuclear power plants are producing very little power for the country. You may remember Kudamkulam, you may remember Kalpakam, etc., or Tarapur. But the fact is, it is not enough to meet even 3% of India's requirement, 3.2% now, while the world average is 10%. Average 10% is being met by nuclear power. So we need to see how to get over this problem. We are dependent on uranium to come from abroad, from some other country have to export it to us. Then only nuclear plant can survive. Otherwise, what do we do? So let's go forward. Who's building new reactors now? Let us have a look at it. You remember 1986, we had the Chernobyl accident in then part of USSR, now a part of Ukraine. There was an accident, and after that, a lot of controls came on how to give safety higher regard in nuclear power plant. Then Fukushima accident in Japan in 2011, that happened after the earthquake. So there was a lot of worries about how safe the nuclear power plants have to be. So there have been different approaches by different countries. Should we build or not build? Should we forget about nuclear reactors or no? How to make them safe? These are all big questions. So after all that, now we find China is building 21 new reactors now. China has already got 50 plus now. He's building 21 more. So he'll become 70 plus in few years' time. And he's also making the world's first small modulator reactor with a capacity less than 300 megawatts. India is making 8 new reactors. At this point of time, we are building 8 more, which will increase our capacity from 6.7 to 14.2. It will complete maybe in another 7-8 years' time from now onwards. And just for information, the biggest reactor which is being built is in UK, in a place called Somerset, which is 1.7 gigawatts power. So many countries have gone back to nuclear power, even though there have been some accidents 12 years back in Japan and much earlier in Chernobyl. So a lot of safety mechanisms have come into nuclear reactors, and countries are going in for nuclear. At the same time, countries have been shutting down reactors. This graph is about countries shutting down reactors. Reactors are being retired. Either they have become too old, technologically obsolete, technically not viable, or politically the country takes a different stand. So USA has cut down 41 reactors. UK has cut down 36 reactors. Fukushima has reviewed all the reactors after the earthquake and shut down 27. Germany has shut down 33 reactors and said, we don't want nuclear power. Now, Germany has taken a political decision not to have nuclear power at all. So they're shutting down all the reactors one by one in their country. India also shut down one plant. Now you remember, sometime back I showed you a graph, 23 reactors. And then India decided to shut down one plant, that is in Rajasthan, which had completed 36 years of service. So India has got only 22 reactors now. So let us look at India's nuclear power sector a little more closely, how it has been growing. This is a photo of the first reactor in India. There's a stamp released in 1956. It was called Apsara, conceptualized by Dr. Homi Bhabha, late Dr. Homi Bhabha, who was the father of India's atomic energy establishment. It was manufactured and commissioned in India. UK had given assistance. USA had given fuel. Uranium, we still have to get fuel. But remember, USA gave us enriched uranium, not natural uranium. Little bit of enrichment was there in that. And it had a rating of 1 megawatt. Apsara worked as a facility for training, experiments, and science education. It was shut down in 2010. And by when we had developed many reactors and many other training centers, the Apsara was recommissioned after 8 years to make radioisotopes for medical purposes. So even today, Apsara is working as a small reactor which will make radioisotopes for medical field. So this is our first reactor in India. Very humble beginning, 1 megawatt we started. Simultaneously, the Department of Atomic Energy created an organization structure, which is given on the left. They constructed 2 more reactors for research called Cyrus and Zerlina. A well-created organization structure was made with safety and R&D and industrial facilities, etc. So in the last 65 years, India has achieved a high level of standardization in nuclear reactors. And India has mainly been using, as I said earlier, pressurized heavy water reactors. We have been using that category, pressurized heavy water reactors fueled by natural uranium, which is U-238. We have been, only thing is we have to get uranium from somewhere. Some uranium is available in the country, some has to come from outside, or lots of it has to come from outside. We'll talk about it as we go along. So BRC has indigenized a lot of equipment, pumps, steam generators, some other nuclear fuel lowering mechanism, control rods, motors, so many things they have indigenized. They have started making heavy water in the country. They also started making from uranium fuel rods. All those facilities have been started making in the country. So our level of indigenization is very high in nuclear power sector. We have got 22 nuclear reactors now, and all are operated today by a company called PSU company called NPCIL, Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. They operate all the power plants. Day-to-day operation, maintenance, repair is all with NPCIL. Very important point you should remember. The Department of Atomic Energy controls NPCIL and who operates all the reactors. And all the certification of reactors are undertaken by the international agency for its safe design and functioning. There could be 1 or 2 reactors which still not had the certification from IAEA. As we go along, I'll find out why they have not got it. So if you look at India's reactors, wherever it is yellow color, that state has got a reactor. Maybe more than 1 reactor. So let's look at that. 22 reactors. They are in 7 townships. 22 are in 7 townships. In the north, we have Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh having reactors. In the west, Gujarat and Maharashtra. In south, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So these are the 6 states where reactors are today stationed. There are no reactors in the east side, eastern states. There's nothing in the northeast. There's nothing in the island territories. There are no reactors as of now. It's only in the 6 states. They contribute 6.7 gigawatts, as I told you, while India's installed power capacity, that means thermal plants, plus solar, plus wind, plus biogas, something else, all put together is 410 gigawatts as of December 22, as of last year. And out of that 410 gigawatts power installed, nuclear plants are giving only 6.7. So it's less than 2% as of now, installed capacity. So there is a aspect of very low contribution from nuclear power. We have seen it is always around 3% which you are meeting. Now installed solar has come in a big way, wind has come in a big way. They have taken up the power sector so much higher. The nuclear contribution has shrunk to less than 2%. So nuclear power is not growing fast. It's growing very, very slow. In fact, at this point, it is stagnating. We have two plants, just give the capacity, 160 megawatts, one of 200, 15 of 220, two of 540, and two of 1 gigawatt. Sometime back, I told you that we also have 1 gigawatt reactors. Both these two of them are in Kudankulam. So Kudankulam reactors, which have been installed with the help of Russian assistance, they are of 1 gigawatt capacity, something which many other countries have in plenty. So we have also reached 1 gigawatt, but as you know, Kudankulam has come into power only in the last 7-8 years. Kudankulam 2 has also come now. So that is a good step forward. But all other reactors which we have indigenously manufactured, designed and manufactured, some foreign assistance, are 540, 220, 200, 160, like that. Well, that is the way we are growing. That is the way we have reached up to 1,000 gigawatts. Now, DAE has got some very good operational highlights. The first reactor, Apsara, finished 54 years before retiring in 2010. As I told you, in 2018, it was recommissioned for radioisotopes of medical field. Tarapur atomic power plants have completed 50 years, and they're still working. 600 reactor years have been completed by NPCIL. That means if a reactor works for 1 year continuously without shutting down for maintenance, it's called a 1 reactor year. NPCIL has completed 600 reactor years in the last so many years since its setting up. 35 times NPCIL has achieved 1 year long continuous operation of a plant. And nuclear fuel complexes and heavy water plants have been set up. A rare metal plant has also been set up at Mysore for doing enrichment of uranium, because we want little bit of enrichment of uranium for our Kudankulam project. Kudankulam project works on enriched uranium, that is U-235 and not U-38. So we are producing it ourselves in Mysore. Tarapur, which had originally come from Canada, that also requires enriched uranium. So that also we make in Mysore. And for the nuclear submarines, as I told you, they use enriched uranium for propulsion. So that's also made in Mysore. So this has also been set up by DAE. Very creditable, they have done it. And we have been having only really limited resources. So we have been getting imports from Kazakhstan, France, Canada, Russia, etc. And we have signed agreements with 14 countries, not only for fuel, but also for some equipment and some technology transfer, etc. So DAE in the last 65 years or 67 years has done creditably very well. And they have taken forward our nuclear power sector. The trajectory has been very good, but of course, of late, there has been a little flattening on the amount of power they're generating. So if you look at it, the power which they have generated has been, this dip is because of ban which I showed you, and the share has never exceeded 3.75 for the last 25 years. And now it is only 1.6%, as I told you some time back. And this is primarily, this dip has been because of fuel ban. And Ministry of Power wants nuclear power to have increased by 2022 to 8.2. That has not happened. The Ministry of Power wants nuclear power plants to generate 19 gigawatts by 2030, so that India can meet other commitments which it has promised towards carbon control. Because nuclear power is a clean and green energy. Less coal will be burned then. But this is unlikely to happen from the nuclear side. So nuclear power plants may not meet the goal which has been set upon themselves by Ministry of Power, who's a coordinator for the entire electricity in the country. So there could be a shortfall in nuclear power generation in the country. And this is linked to our inability to have enough uranium. So at the end of this part, we are saying nuclear power has started well, grown well, but the last almost 10 years, we have been stagnant. Okay, make it another last 7-8 years. We have been stagnant. We're not growing. We are at the same level. And we are not going forward because we are not getting enough fuel, which is uranium. We are depending on export, which we don't want. We want to have another solution. That is what we are going to see now. So what are the challenges faced by nuclear power sector? There are 3 challenges. 1, 2, 3. Let me take the first challenge. We are vulnerable to imports from uranium. We have to import uranium, and if other countries stop uranium to us, we have a problem. So we should find some other method for recycling uranium. So let us see a little more on this factor. So this is the uranium which is produced in the country. We are about 400 tons of uranium. We are we are producing from our limited mines. By the time you get from that, you will get very little uranium out of that. I will see the details. So we get about 400 tons from our mines in Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, etc. And some uranium can be enriched to U35, which is also required for Kudam requires it. Submarines require it. So our Mysore facility enriches some uranium to U35. If you take 200 tons of natural uranium and run power plant to get 1 gigawatt for 1 year, the same power you can get with 1 ton of U35. So you see the ratio. 200 tons of natural uranium, if you use, you'll get 1 gigawatt for 1 year from a power plant continuously. But the same power you will get with 1 ton. Ratio is 1:200. So natural uranium is not a very potent fuel. That's all we have. You enrich it, but we don't have big capacity to enrich it. So enrichment we are using in Kudankulam, some for submarines. So idea is to get some other method for using uranium after it has been run in the reactor. So let's see that. So we require 100 tons of uranium every year per gigawatt. Now, this 100 tons can be natural uranium. So let's say it is 85, and 15 tons of U235, or 90 plus 10, or 95 plus 5, whichever way you want it. It also depends on the type of plants we have. So we know there are some plants in India which take only U35. So let us take 90-10. So 90 tons of uranium you require, 10 tons you require U35. For every gigawatt, we require that much of fuel. So you can imagine how much ore is required to be done from the mines because that will be significantly higher. If you make nuclear power 20 gigawatt in future, you will require 2,000 tons a year. 2,000 tons of uranium and U-35 in some combination. Earlier we said 90-10. Now it will become 20 times more. So 1,800 and 200. This will be required for 20 gigawatts. So we have a problem. We are not able to enrich enough. We don't have uranium enough. We have to import. So how do we are not able to go forward on nuclear power sector as fast as we want. It is slow. It is not growing. So our reserves of uranium is only 75,000 tons in Andhra Pradesh plus Rajasthan plus Jharkhand mines all put together will give you only 75,000 tons. And if you take 75,000 tons and you look at our requirement of 2,000 tons a year for 20 gigawatts, either we can have 50 gigawatts for 15 years or 25 gigawatts for 30 years. You multiply both this, it'll come to 75. So we have a problem that we are not able to go full hog on this for some reason. I told you that every gigawatt requires 100 tons. So if you got 50 gigawatts, 50 into 100, 5,000. And you want to run for 15 years, 5,000 into 15, 75,000. Uranium finished. Or don't go for 50 gigawatts, go for 25 gigawatts, then you can run for 30 years. Or go to 15 gigawatts, then you can run for some 40 years. So something like that, you have to work out. How do we give the fuel to nuclear power sector? It's a very serious issue, which needs to be addressed. And we can import. Today people are giving, but tomorrow it may not happen. Somebody will say, sorry, we're not giving you. So we have to bring spent uranium back to fuel by some method. So I told you challenge number one is we are vulnerable to import. So let us see challenge number two. We have to recycle uranium by some radioactive process and use what is available in India. Thorium is available in plenty in India. 25% of world's reserves are in India. We have only 1% of uranium of the world, but 25% of thorium is available. So if we can use thorium in some method to recycle uranium, that means spent uranium or used fuel, put through some process and bring it back to life. Is it possible? So I'm going to show a process which the DAE is progressing, and this will be slightly complicated, but just understand we are trying to recycle spent uranium into live uranium so that we can use it again and again and again and again we use, so we don't have to import. So this has got 3 stages. First thing is we are going for a 3-stage cycle with thorium of 25%, which we have. The first stage is what is happening today. That is pressurized heavy water uranium reactors. That is the first stage. So that gives you output spent uranium. It is also called plutonium. So that you take to stage 2. So let me show you that. So spent uranium, which is there in reactor, is used and it gives you power like it is giving now. And it has got an output which is plutonium. Now I'll show you, this will go to stage 2. When it goes to stage 2, this plutonium you put in a blanket, like a blanket, around which thorium is put. And then the moderator is something else. And then you run a reactor, another reactor called stage 2 reactor, which this is a stage 2 reactor, which will take thorium and used uranium and plutonium and give you power. But in addition, it will give another output, which will go to stage 3. So in stage 3, it is another type of reactor, which will use again thorium and give you fissile material, which can be reused. So what will happen is you use thorium to get our spent fuel is used, and we are using thorium. So what you need to understand, a little complicated process. This was conceptualized by Dr. Homi Bhabha in 1960s, and I will tell you where we are now. So this was conceptualized by him. We are using our thorium and used uranium to run reactors in stage 2 and stage 3 and produce power. And whatever little bit uranium you have in the country, you run in stage 1. So stage 1 with little uranium we have, that spent fuel is given to 2 and 3, where thorium is used, some complicated process happens, and you get power. So at the end of it, you have got nuclear power with available thorium, which is in plenty, and scant resources of thorium, which we have in the country. But we require large number of reactors of stage 2 and stage 3 to make this happen. But India stage 2 and stage 3 have not become operational. Stage 2, they have been trying for last 13 years almost, but it has not become ready. It has not become functional. There have been some technological problem, some technical problem, and this, unless this happens, we will continue to import uranium. So the delay in converting spent fuel with the help of thorium has not been successful. Delay has cost our nuclear process, nuclear power sector to slow down and not enable it to contribute to India's overall power sector. But still, we are making some more reactors. As I told you some time back, we have got 32 plants. We are going to build some more plants for additional 8.9 gigawatts. My appreciation is it will be by 2032. When both these put together, we'll have 33 plants. We'll get 15.6, which would be lower than what Ministry of Power wants. There are 24 more plants in different places as shown in the map. With the help of France, we are setting up something in Maharashtra, then Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. But finally, we may come only to 26.1. Niti Aayog says in 2047, when we become 100 years independent, we need 42 gigawatts of nuclear power. We should have. But that seems very, very stiff target for the DAE. And that can happen only if stage 2 and stage 3 reactors, which are using thorium, become successful, and then many more you make, and you increase our power output from nuclear reactors, some working on uranium, some working on spent uranium plus thorium. You understand? So we have to get our stage 2 and 3 reactors working. Otherwise, our nuclear power sector will have serious limitations. This is the major challenge for our DAE. This is what DAE requires. This is how that India's power will grow, power requirement will go by 2047. And the small violet colored strip is of nuclear. Rest all are, this is wind, this is solar, this is bottom is coal, then you've got hydro, and very little of nuclear. Even that we may not be able to get unless stage 2 and 3 become successful, our nuclear program, nuclear power program. So let me come to conclusions. World gets 10% of electrical power, I told you, but India gets less than 3% for its nuclear power. India's got reactors, 6.7 gigawatts only now, 3.3% it can meet at best. Nuclear power program is scheduled to expand to 33 reactors by 2032 and 47 reactors by 2040. Niti Aayog wants at least 80 gigawatts should happen to get 3.8%. The present contribution, if you want to get in 2047, it should go to 80 gigawatts. And that is a handicap because our natural uranium is very limited. And therefore, the thorium process has to succeed, which has not been successful till now. Once they get proven, then you produce a large number of stage 2 and stage 3. 10, 15 of them you'll have to produce. And if you recall, in newspaper 2 days back, Kerala government said, we are going to get a nuclear reactor. That nuclear reactor which Kerala government was referring to is either stage 2 or stage 3. The first step, stage 2, is still not ready. First step, stage 2 is also not ready. As and when they are proved, at the moment it is under trials in Kalpakam. As and when they get cleared and they are operating well, then it will go some 15 of stage 2 and 3 will be built all over India, and Kerala also will get one nuclear reactor. But I think that will be definitely close to 2040 or 2035, not before that. So we have a huge challenge. Nuclear power sector has been growing steadily, safely, of course. We can very proudly say our nuclear power sector has been very safe in the last 6 decades, but a slow pace, which is becoming slower and slower day by day because of fuel problem. And we need to overcome this by our own process so that we can contribute from nuclear reactors, clean energy in good measure, at least till 3%, 4% of our overall requirement. Unlike many other countries which have gone to 70%, 60%, etc. With this, I conclude my talk. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Hind. Thank you. I'll stop sharing at this point of time. And if there are any questions, I can always come back to a slide.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും സാർ ആദ്യം പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ ഈ ഒരു വിഷയത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് കൂടുതൽ ഗഹനമായ അറിവുകളൊന്നും നമുക്കില്ലെങ്കിൽ പോലും അതിന്റെ പുറകോട്ടും മുന്നോട്ടുമുള്ള എല്ലാ പാട്ടുകളും വളരെ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് സാർ എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്തു. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഐ തിങ്ക് സുനിൽ സാറിന് സ്വല്പം ആധികാരികമായിട്ട് പറയാൻ പറ്റുമായിരിക്കും, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ചോദ്യങ്ങളോ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള കമന്റ്സോ ഒക്കെ ഒന്ന് പറയാം. സുനിൽ സാർ, ക്യാൻ യു ഡു?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sadhu sir, and thank you, Kannan sir. ഇത് ഞാൻ ഒരു DIയുടെ ഒരു ഭാഗമായിട്ട് മെക്കാനിക്കൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ആണെങ്കിലും മിനറൽ സെക്ടറിലാണ് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നെങ്കിലും പലയിടത്തും വായിച്ചിട്ടും കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള കുറേ കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്. സാറ് വളരെ, എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം വളരെ സിമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ടാണ് അത് അവതരിപ്പിച്ചതെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നിയത്. കാരണം നമ്മുടെ എനർജി സെക്ടറിന്റെ റോള്, എനർജി സെക്ടറിൽ ന്യൂക്ലിയർ പവറിലുള്ള റോള്, അത് വളരെ കൃത്യമായിട്ടുള്ള സ്റ്റാറ്റിസ്റ്റിക്സോടെ ഇതാണ് അവതരിപ്പിച്ചത്. എനിക്ക് കൂട്ടത്തിൽ ഒരു ചോദ്യം ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ട് സാർ. അതായത് നമ്മൾ 1, 2, 3 എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു എഗ്രിമെന്റ് പണ്ട് കാലത്ത് നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിലൊക്കെ വായിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. യുറേനിയം ഇമ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നതിനുള്ള റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസ് വെച്ചതിന് ഒരു എഗ്രിമെന്റ്, അത് പറയാൻ പറ്റുന്നതാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളെ അതിന്റെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് എനിക്ക് അത്ര അറിയില്ല, കുറെ കാലമായിരുന്നു, 10 വർഷത്തിന് മുമ്പൊക്കെയാണ്. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ആ പൊക്രാൻ ശേഷമുള്ള റെസ്ട്രിക്ഷൻസ്. അന്ന് എനിക്ക് ഓർമ്മയുണ്ട്, IRE പോലും ഞങ്ങളൊരു ഇമ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ IREയുടെ പേരൊക്കെ ബാൻഡ് ലിസ്റ്റിലായിരുന്നു, USA നമുക്ക് ഇമ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി. അപ്പൊ ഞങ്ങളുടെ എക്യുപ്മെന്റ്സും ഒക്കെ എൻഡ് യൂസർ ലൈസൻസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എൻഡ് യൂസർ സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് കൊടുക്കണം എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് നിർബന്ധം വന്ന സമയമുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ ഈ സാർ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു, സ്റ്റേജ് 1 യുറേനിയത്തിന്റെ അവൈലബിലിറ്റി ഇല്ലാത്തത് കൊണ്ട് ഇമ്പോർട്ടിൽ ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടി വന്നുകൊണ്ട് 2ഉം 3ഉം സ്റ്റേജസ് വളരെ മികവുറ്റതാവേണ്ടതായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷെ R&D ആണ്, നമുക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റില്ല, ടെക്നോളജിക്കൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന്റെ പ്രോബ്ലം കൊണ്ട്. എനിക്ക് ഓർമ്മയുള്ളത് ഈ തോറിയം ബേസ്ഡ് ആണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു, ഭാവിനി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഭാരതീയ അതും അണ്ടർ ദി ഡെവലപ്മെന്റ് സ്റ്റേജ് ആണെന്ന്. അതൊക്കെ വരികയാണെങ്കിൽ
See, what you said is correct. So uranium, when you import from any country, you have to give there are some conditions, right? End use condition. അതായത് നമ്മൾ യുറേനിയം ഇമ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് സീക്രട്ട്ലി അത് എൻറിച്ച് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ, I told you, ഈ യുറേനിയത്തിൽ 99.2% നാച്ചുറൽ യുറേനിയമാണ്. അത് ഏറ്റവും പോട്ടൻസി കുറഞ്ഞ ഫ്യൂവലാണ്. അതിൽ ചെറിയ ഒരു ഭാഗം U35 എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ യുറേനിയം ഉണ്ട്. അത് ഹൈലി പോട്ടന്റ് ആണ്, സ്റ്റേബിളും ആണ്. അപ്പൊ ഈ 238നെ 235 ആക്കാൻ there is a process. That process is called enrichment. ഞാൻ വളരെ സിമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ട് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ, യുറേനിയം അത് ഹീറ്റപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് അതിനെ സെൻട്രിഫ്യൂജിൽ കൂടെ സ്പീഡിൽ റൊട്ടേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് U38ന്റെ കുറെ ന്യൂട്രോൺസ് അങ്ങ് പറന്നു പോവും. അപ്പോൾ 235 ആവും. ഞാൻ വളരെ സിമ്പിൾ ആയിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞതാണ്. ചെയ്യുന്നത് അത് ഒരു സെൻട്രിഫ്യൂജിൽ നിന്ന് പറ്റില്ല. ഒരു സെൻട്രിഫ്യൂജിൽ നിന്ന് ഔട്ട്പുട്ട് എടുത്ത് 2ാമത്തിൽ പോയി, 3ാമത്തിൽ പോയി, 4ാമത്തിൽ പോയി, 5ാമത്തിൽ പോയി, 10ാമത്തിൽ പോയി, 15ാമത്തിൽ പോയി. A series of centrifuges required to achieve that condition of speed and centrifugal force to make it 235. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ അങ്ങനെ വളരെ കുറഞ്ഞ പെർസെൻറ്റേജിൽ ഇരുന്ന 235നെ 0.5% ആക്കിയാൽ അറ്റോമിക് പവർ പ്ലാന്റിന് നല്ലതാണ്. കുടംകുളം ചെയ്യുന്ന U235 0.5%ലാണ്. പക്ഷെ അത് എൻട്രി ചെയ്ത് 20% ആക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ you can use it for bombs. So companies which are supplying uranium to you put a condition: you cannot enrich it more than so much percentage. They say, okay, you enrich it for using in a power plant, but don't enrich to the level you want in a bomb. What is the difference? If you have an ordinary uranium and you are doing a fission process, the heat which is produced is intense, no doubt. That heat is contained in water. Water is heated up, becomes steam, and it is used for electricity. But if you use enriched uranium, the heat produces so much. It's a big pulse of energy that no water can absorb. No concrete can absorb. No steel can absorb. Because that much of energy is released. It will destroy everything within certain radius. That is why you use low enriched U35 for nuclear reactor. Kulam. Adile, you are using very low enrichment so that water can still take away the heat. Water pressurize so that it doesn't boil, and pressurize it and it will take away the heat with very low enrichment. High enrichment uranium cannot be used in nuclear reactor. The whole nuclear reactor will burst. because it will release so much of energy that can be used only for bomb. That's not our aim anyway. That's not a part of this discussion as well.
Thank you, sir.
Now I come to so our problem is we have got very little uranium. Use it the way you are using now. Just the way what you're using now. In 22 plants, you're using that spent uranium. That means uranium after some time will cross half-life, which you have learned in physics. Half-life the capacity so the fuel is changed. Normally it is changed after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, depending upon how you have used your reactor. Now, NPCL cannot be changing fuel every month. So they operate at a level 80%, 85% power, full power. And so that 1 year, they'll change the fuel. That spent fuel, you want to recycle. That's thorium use, which is called stage 2 and stage 3. So what you said about Bhavani is, you said Bhavani, correct?
Bhavani.
So, huh?
Bhavani, sir, Bhavani.
Bhavani. So that is stage 2. That is still not become successful. It's called a breeder reactor. It breeds uranium. It breeds fuel. That's why it's called a breeder reactor. And they require one more set, which is called advanced heavy water reactor, which will again breed. So unless these two different types of reactor, I think that's called Kamini, if I'm right, in DAE. These two type of reactors have to become successful. Then only we can become fairly confident that our trajectory of nuclear power generation will continue to rise. Yeah.
Sir, thank you, sir. You bakiloru parayate. Technical matram paranjadu. Audience answer. Okay, sir. Thank you. Nalloru informative, simple aayittu avതരിപ്പിച്ചു.
Aim is simple.
George sir,
Hi. Thank you, Sav sir. Thank you, Vice Admiral Kannan sir. വളരെ സങ്കീർണമായ ശാസ്ത്ര വിഷയം ഉൾക്കൊള്ളാനൊക്കെ വലിയ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്, അതിസങ്കീർണം. പക്ഷേ എനിക്ക് ഭാവിയിൽ നമ്മുടെ തോറിയം സഫിഷ്യൻ്റ് ആണ്, തോറിയമായിട്ട് ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് 2030-32 ഒക്കെ ആകുമ്പോഴേക്കും ആകും എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് അതാ പ്രതീക്ഷ. 1. 2, അതിനേക്കാൾ ഉപരിയായി നമുക്ക് അറ്റോമിക് പ്ലാന്റ് ഇപ്പൊ ജപ്പാനിലും മറ്റേ ചെർണോബിൽ ദുരന്തം ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടായി കഴിഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷം ഇത് ഒത്തിരി പേര് ഇങ്ങനെ അടയ്ക്കുന്ന കാര്യം സാർ സൂചിപ്പിച്ചു. അത് വെച്ച് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് സോളാർ സഫിഷ്യൻ്റ് ആണ്. സോളാർ പവർ ഒരു ലോഭമില്ലാതെ കിട്ടും. ഈ ഇൻവെസ്റ്റ്മെന്റ് അവിടെ നടത്തി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അത് എക്കോ ഫ്രണ്ട്ലി ആണ്, എല്ലാവരും അംഗീകരിക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും. അതായിരിക്കണം ഇനിയുള്ള ഭാവി മുഴുവൻ. ഇന്ത്യയെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം വളരെ സാധ്യതയാണ് സോളാർ പവർ എനർജി.
അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ സോളാറിൽ മാത്രം പോയാ രാത്രി പവർ കിട്ടില്ല, പകൽ മാത്രമേ സോളാർ പവർ കിട്ടുള്ളൂ. അപ്പോ സോളാർ പവർ ജനറേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് ബാറ്ററിയിൽ സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്യണം. ആ ബാറ്ററിയിൽ നിന്ന് രാത്രി പവർ എടുക്കണം.
അത്
മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? സോ solar has got its own problem. Solar has got its own problem. So solar plus wind, if you can combine, Karyam, the wind pattern in India is towards evening and night. So we can get wind in the night and solar in the morning. Combine both, we will get a fair amount of power. So solar, സൂര്യന്റെയാണ്, സൂര്യനിലെ ഫ്യൂഷൻ നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, നമുക്ക് അത് സൗകര്യം ഇവിടെ കിട്ടുമല്ലോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് രാത്രി പിന്നെ പവർ കിട്ടില്ല. അവർ റിക്വയർമെന്റ് ഇസ് ഇൻ 2047 2000 gigawatts of power. 2000 gigawatts of power ഇന്ത്യക്ക് വേണം ആ സമയത്ത്, because of industries and because of economy has progressed. Today our generation is around 400 gigawatts. As it stands now, India can generate about 400 gigawatts, mostly from coal, thermal plants. mostly from coal. Solar is also coming up, wind is also coming up. So it will grow. As I showed you in the graph, after some time, coal will get overtaken by solar, and wind also will overtake coal. But nuclear is also required. You require a mix of all this. That is important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hey, Binu.
നമസ്തേ സാബു സാർ, നമസ്തേ കണ്ണൻ സാർ, പിന്നെ എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. ഇന്ന് സത്യം പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എനിക്കൊരു ഇത്തിരി ബാഡ് ലക്ക് ഡേ ആയിരുന്നു. ലാസ്റ്റ് 15-20 മിനിറ്റ്സിൽ എനിക്കിവിടെ എത്താൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. പക്ഷെ ഇത്രയും എന്റെ ഫാദർ ആർമിയാണ്, എന്റെ മുത്തച്ഛനും ആർമിയാണ്. പക്ഷെ എന്തുകൊണ്ടിട്ടോ സാറിന്റെ നല്ലൊരു ക്ലാസ് പൂർണ്ണമായിട്ടും കേൾക്കാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞില്ല. ഞാൻ എന്തായാലും നാളെ യൂട്യൂബിലത് കവർ ചെയ്യും. ബട്ട് വെരി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് വേ ഓഫ് presentation and the thorough knowledge in it. I'm very impressed actually. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just following what Sabu has requested. Important topics, slightly complex, make it simple and tell his team. So അത് പഠിച്ച് മനസ്സിലാക്കി സിമ്പിളായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു കൊടുക്കുന്ന ഒരു പ്രോഗ്രാമിലാണ് ഞാൻ ഇപ്പോ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത് സാബുവായിട്ട്. Thank you, Sabu. Thank you, Binu.
Roy sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
താങ്ക് യു കണ്ണൻ സാർ. ഇതെല്ലാം ഒരു ഫസ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് നോളജായി എന്നെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഫ്യൂഷനും ഫിഷനും ഒക്കെ എന്താണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കി തന്നതും ഒക്കെ വലിയ ഒരു ഇതാണ്, ഫ്യൂഷനും ഒക്കെ. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സാറ് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ ഈ 430 റിയാക്ടേഴ്സ് ഓൾ ഓവർ ഉള്ളതിൽ 30 കൺട്രീസിലുള്ളതിൽ ഇന്ത്യയും അതിനകത്ത് മെമ്പറാണ് എന്നൊക്കെ അറിഞ്ഞത് എല്ലാം ഒരു ഫസ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് നോളജ്.
ഇന്ത്യ മെമ്പർ മാത്രമല്ല, 22 റിയാക്ടർ ഇന്ന് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്.
23 ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, അന്ന് സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്തു. 22 റിയാക്ടർ ഇപ്പോഴും വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത് പറയുന്നു. അത് 6 സ്റ്റേറ്റുകളിലായിട്ടാണ്. ഇതെല്ലാം ഒക്കെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് നോളജാണ്. പിന്നെ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ യുറേനിയത്തിന്റെ റിക്വയർമെന്റ് തോറിയം കൊണ്ട് ഉപയോഗിക്കാം, പക്ഷെ അത് നമുക്ക് പറ്റാതെ വരുന്നു. എല്ലാം വളരെ ഇതായിട്ട് തോന്നി. കാരണം ഈ ഫീൽഡിൽ എന്തിനെക്കുറിച്ച് എന്ത് ചോദിച്ചാലും നമ്മൾ ഒന്നും അറിയാൻ മേലാത്തവൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സ്റ്റേജിൽ നിന്ന് മാറ്റി ഈ ഫീൽഡിലും നമുക്ക് ചില വിവരങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ട് എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ കഴിഞ്ഞതിന് വളരെയധികം നന്ദിയുണ്ട് സാർ. താങ്ക് യു സാർ.
ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞോട്ടെ, ഫ്യൂഷൻ നമ്മുടെ വേൾഡിൽ ഉണ്ട്, ഒരിടത്തേ ഉള്ളൂ, സണ്ണിലാണ് ഫ്യൂഷൻ.
അതെ, അല്ല അത് ഡിഫറൻസ് ചെയ്ത് സാറിന്റെ മനസ്സിലായത്. സ്പ്ലിറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് എനർജി ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നതും ജോയിൻ ചെയ്ത് എനർജി ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നതും ഒക്കെ പറയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആദ്യത്തെ നോളജാണ്.
അതെ,
ഏതായാലും ഇതുമായിട്ട് ഈ ആറ്റോമിക് പവർ സോഴ്സിനുമായിട്ട് വരുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമ്മളൊന്നും അറിയാൻ മേലാത്തതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കാതെ അതിനകത്ത് ചില കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമുക്ക് ഷെയർ ചെയ്യാൻ ഉള്ള ഒരു കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഉണ്ടാക്കി തന്നു സാർ. താങ്ക് യു സാർ.
താങ്ക് യു.
സർ, ഒരു ഡൗട്ട് ചോദിക്കട്ടെ. ഈ തോറിയം ആഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ, യുറേനിയത്തിനോട് കൂടി തോറിയം ആഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ സ്റ്റേജ് 2-ലും 1-ലും 2-ലും 3-ലും സർ 10x 20x 20y എന്നും കൊടുത്തു. അതെന്തായിരിക്കും റെപ്രസെന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്?
ഗുഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. അതായത് പ്ലീസ് ലെറ്റ് us look at this calculation once more. India wants something like 40, just give an example, 40 gigawatts of nuclear power. ഇപ്പൊ സെറ്റപ്പ് ഇരിക്കുന്ന 6 ഉള്ളൂ. പിന്നെ 4-5 കമ്മീഷൻ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നു. എല്ലാം കൂടെ 12 ഉണ്ടാവും. 15 വെച്ചോളൂ. 15 ഗഗാവാട്ട്സ് ഇങ്ങനെ യുറേനിയത്തിൽ കിടന്ന് ഓടും. എന്നിട്ട് യുറേനിയം യൂസ് ചെയ്ത് നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് ഈ 15 ഗഗാവാട്ട്സ് യുറേനിയം ബേസ്ഡ് റിയാക്ടറിന് കിട്ടുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ആ സ്പെൻഡ് യുറേനിയം, സ്പെൻഡ് ഫ്യൂവലിനെ എടുത്ത് തോറിയമായിട്ട് മിക്സ് ചെയ്ത് ഒരു റിയാക്ടറിൽ അത് ഇറ്റ്സ് എ കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ് പ്രോസസ്. ഐ എം സിംപ്ലിഫൈയിങ് ഇറ്റ്. തോറിയവും യുറേനിയം കൂടെ മിക്സ്, ഈ പഴയ ഫ്യൂവലിന്റെ ചുറ്റും തോറിയം വെച്ചൊരു ബ്ലാങ്കറ്റ് മാതിരി കെട്ടി എന്നിട്ട് അതൊക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്ത് ആ തോറിയം വിൽ ഗെറ്റ് കൺസ്യൂംഡ്, റൈറ്റ്, ആൻഡ് യുറേനിയം വിൽ ബിക്കം ബാക്ക് ടു ലൈഫ്. ആ സമയത്ത് ആ റിയാക്ഷൻ ഇസ് എ ന്യൂക്ലിയർ റിയാക്ഷൻ. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് എ ന്യൂക്ലിയർ റിയാക്ഷൻ. ആ റിയാക്ഷൻ will produce power. So if one reactor produces Y gigawatts, if you have 20 such reactors, you will get 20Y. മനസ്സിലായോ? പിന്നെ തേർഡ് സ്റ്റേജിൽ തോറിയം യൂസ് ചെയ്ത് വേറൊരു ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് പ്രോസസ്സിൽ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ you may get X gigawatts. And if you got 20 reactors, it will become 20X. നമുക്ക് എത്തേണ്ടത് എവിടെയാണ്? എത്തേണ്ടത് ഇവിടെ 40. അതിൽ 15 ഉണ്ട്. ആ 15-ല് 5 റിട്ടയർ ആവും വെച്ചോളൂ. അപ്പൊ 10 ആവും. ബാക്കി 30 20X-ഉം 20Y-നും വരണം. അല്ലേ? അപ്പൊ X plus Y has to be 1.5. Right? അപ്പൊ X 750-ഉം Y 750-ഉം കൂടെ ആഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ 1.5 ഗിഗാവാട്ട്സ് കിട്ടും. ജസ്റ്റ് ടു ഗിവ് ഇൻഡിക്കേഷൻ. അപ്പൊ 20 അല്ല, 20 വെച്ച് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല, 30 വേണ്ടി വരും. 30 റിയാക്ടർ ചെയ്യണം. സ്റ്റേജ് 2-ന്റെയും 30 റിയാക്ടർ വൈയും ചെയ്താൽ അതിന്റെ പവർ കുറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് 30 കൊണ്ട് മൾട്ടിപ്ലൈ. അപ്പൊ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഗോയിങ് ടു ടേക്ക് എ ലോങ് ടൈം. പക്ഷെ തോറിയം ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ ഉണ്ട്. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് വാട്ട് ഇറ്റ്. അതിൽ ഒന്നാണ് കേരള ഗവൺമെന്റ് 2 ദിവസം മുമ്പ് പറഞ്ഞത്. കറക്റ്റ് അല്ലേ?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes. Okay, then വേറെ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും anything, കുമാർ sir, ആർക്കെങ്കിലും പറയാനുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ പറയാം.
Some lady asked a question in between. I told her at the end.
അതൊരു മിസ്റ്റേക്കാ സാർ. അത് ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക് ഓപ്പൺ ആയി പോയി.
ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്
ഓപ്പൺ അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ആയി പോയതാ. They are talking personally something.
സാറേ നമസ്കാരം സാറേ. രണ്ടുപേർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. കാരണം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ ഒരു ബീച്ച് ഫെസ്റ്റ് നടക്കണം, അതിന്റെ ഉദ്ഘാടനമായിരുന്നു. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് അവിടെ ഇരുന്നിട്ട് ക്ലാസ് കേൾക്കുന്നില്ല. അപ്പം ഞാൻ ഓടി വീട്ടിലേക്ക് വന്നു. സാറ് സിമ്പിളായിട്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞതെല്ലാം മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ട്. അവിടെ MLA സംസാരിച്ചതിന് കുറെ വർഷങ്ങളോളം കഴിഞ്ഞ ഈ ഭൂമി തന്നെ ഇല്ലാത്ത ഒരവസ്ഥയെല്ലാം പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പൊ സാറിന്റെ ഈ ക്ലാസ്സില് ഇപ്പം എല്ലാരും ഏകദേശം സോളാറിലേക്ക് നീങ്ങാണ് സാറേ. സോളാർ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോ ഇപ്പം KCB-ല് നമ്മളിപ്പോ ബില്ല് വരുന്ന 5000 6000 ഒക്കെ ഓരോരാൾക്കും വരുമ്പം അതിനെ മറികടക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് എല്ലാരും സോളാറിലേക്ക് നീങ്ങുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അതിൽ പറയുന്ന സാർ ഇപ്പൊ പറഞ്ഞ രാത്രിയാകുമ്പോ അത് ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടാണ്. പക്ഷെ എന്നിരുന്നാലും നമ്മുടെ ഒരു നെഫ്യൂ അത് എടുത്തിട്ട് ഇപ്പം കുറച്ച് പൈസ ഇങ്ങോട്ട് കിട്ടുന്ന രീതിയിലായി എന്നൊക്കെയാ പറയുന്നത്.
മാഡം എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി. സോളാർ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എക്കണോമിക്കൽ, ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് കൺവീനിയന്റ് എക്സെട്ര, എഗ്രി ചെയ്തു. പക്ഷെ you require a battery for giving you power in the night.
Yes.
Okay, and your battery requirement is very small. വീട്ടിലല്ലേ വർക്ക്ഷോപ്പ് സോളാറിൽ നടക്കണമെങ്കിൽ imagine the amount of batteries he has to keep. ഒരു സ്കൂള് കംപ്ലീറ്റ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കോളേജ്, ഒരു ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ സോളാറിൽ നടക്കണം. അപ്പൊ എത്ര ബാറ്ററി അവർക്ക് വെക്കേണ്ടി വരും? So what will happen is your generate power in the morning, daytime. For night you store in the battery.
Yes.
So you will have a huge bank of batteries, which has got its own complication. So solar matram cannot be a source. You will land up in some days where it is going to rain continuously. You will not get solar power the way you want. It'll reduce. I'm not saying it'll become zero, but it'll reduce. So you require a mix. For any country's economy to be stable, you require a mix of coal plus solar plus wind plus biofuel plus nuclear plus hydro, like you have in dams. എല്ലാത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു മിക്സ് വേണം. എന്നാലേ നമുക്കതെല്ലാം കൂടെ ഒരുമിച്ച് മാനേജ് ചെയ്ത് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. The main point in the talk is nuclear is not giving enough into the mix at this point of time due to a technical problem. That technical problem I have simplified and told you. അതാണ് പ്രശ്നം. അതിൽ സൊല്യൂഷൻ ഒന്നും കാണുന്നില്ല, ഇമ്മീഡിയറ്റ് സൊല്യൂഷൻ ഒന്നും കാണുന്നില്ല. അത് പ്രശ്നമാണ്
സാർ. അതിൽ തന്നെ ഇപ്പം വെഹിക്കിൾസ് തന്നെ ഇപ്പൊ ഇലക്ട്രിക് വെഹിക്കിൾസ് ആണല്ലോ അധികം ആള് ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത്. അതിലേക്ക് വരികയാണല്ലോ
ഇലക്ട്രിക് വെഹിക്കിൾസ് ബാറ്ററിയിൽ ഓടണേ. ഇലക്ട്രിക് വെഹിക്കിൾ ബാറ്ററിയിൽ ഓടണേ. അത് ചാർജ് ചെയ്യണ്ടേ? അത് പവർ എവിടെ നിന്ന് വരും? So electric vehicles may reduce your carbon emission because petrol and diesel, but battery charging everything put kutti power vende. Power they have to burn coal only, or they have to have nuclear, or they have to have solar, or they have to, so power sector has to have components of all these types of energy.
Sure.
It is a fallback, not only at India level, even at state level. For the state within the grid, you should have dam plus hydro plus solar plus this, etc. So that you're able to, in case of any problem in one sector, let's say nuclear power plant, Kodonkola has to be shut down. Let's take an example. Not will be seriously affected because their main power station will be off, but they take power from somewhere else. So Kudamadu, that power is also Karnataka, Andhra, etc. So every state has all these powers, and that is what the national
audio problem.
Audio problem.
Audio problem.
അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഒരു കാര്യം ആഡ് ചെയ്തോട്ടെ, സാർ കേൾക്കുമെന്ന് അറിയില്ല. ഈ നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന തോറിയവും യുറേനിയവും അടങ്ങിയ നാച്ചുറൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഓറാണ് മോണോസൈറ്റ്. ഈ മോണോസൈറ്റ് IRE എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഞാൻ സാർ യുവർ പ്ലീസ് അൺമ്യൂട്ട് സാർ. Kannan sir, you are muted.
Sabu, sorry, there's a small power failure here. My Wi-Fi got disconnected.
Okay, sir, you can continue.
So I've told you, it's an important ingredient in your power sector. But nuclear power, you have to be very, very quality conscious, very safety conscious, very disciplined workforce are required. Operating mechanisms should be thoroughly checked. Maintenance should be good. All these things are required. But the energy which comes out is clean, and that is what we want because of global warming. So there are a lot of requirements for nuclear power. But at this point of time, we are very much behind in the race.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
ഞാൻ തോറിയത്തെ പറ്റി പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയായിരുന്നു സാറ് ഗ്യാപ്പിൽ വന്നപ്പോഴേ. നമ്മളുടെ ഒരു മോണോസൈറ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ മിനറല് കണ്ടെയ്നിങ് യുറേനിയം ആൻഡ് തോറിയം, അത് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ആലുവയിലുള്ള റയർ എർത്ത് സെപ്പറേഷൻ പ്ലാന്റിൽ.
I told you, uranium is wrapped in a blanket of thorium. So actually, uranium and thorium are mixed like a cake mix called monocyte, and that is shaped around this fuel rod. I didn't go into so much of details. Sabu gives me only 55 minutes, so I had to cut short. Thank you.
Since it's a live program, I am not telling more. Okay. There is a protocol. There could be a problem.
Okay.
A problem, but still we have to.
Yeah.
Okay, Apple, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sure.
Shari. So thank you very much. I'm closing down. I'm leaving. Permission to leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I'll try and see all of you before Christmas to wish you all Merry Christmas as well. So we'll see you before that. Right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Super.
Okay, അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അതിന്റെ ചെയ്യാം. എനിക്കൊരു ക്ലാസ് കൂടെ ഉണ്ട് ഉടനെ. Okay.
ശരി സാർ.
ഓക്കെ, ബൈ. സീ യു. നാളെ നമുക്ക് ഒരു എന്റർപ്രണർഷിപ്പിന്റെ ക്ലാസ് ആണ്. ബ്രാൻഡിങ്, വൈ ബ്രാൻഡിങ് ഇൻ ബിസിനസ്. ബ്രാൻഡിങ് വളരെ എഫക്റ്റീവ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള സെഷൻ ആണ്. ഒരു IIM അലുമിനി ആണ് ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ നാളെ കാണാം. ഓക്കെ, സീ യു. ബൈ.
ബൈ സാർ.